Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons and levels of canon. And today we're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons Anti-Canon Level A. Dungeons & Dragons Anti-Canon Level A. So what is anti-canon to Dungeons & Dragons? So first of all, it's different than non-canon, okay? How is it different? So a perfect example of material that is non-canon to Dungeons and Dragons is Gossip Girl. It has zero connections to Dungeons and Dragons. The people who own Gossip Girl have never made any attempt to make Gossip Girl canon to Dungeons and Dragons. They've never taken any product action that put Gossip Girl within Dungeons and Dragons canon. And Dungeons and Dragons has zero interest in Dungeons and Dragons has zero interest in Gossip Girl, right? They don't write it into their canon books. They don't take any action on it. So it's non-canon, okay? Let's talk about anti-canon. What is anti-canon to Dungeons and Dragons? Here you go. Golarion. What is Golarion? Golarion is the setting for Pathfinder, okay? Pathfinder 1E and Pathfinder 2E both use Golarion. Golarion is the official setting for Pathfinder, okay? It is anti-canon to Dungeons & Dragons because it confuses people on Dungeons & Dragons canon. They're like, wait a second, Scott, where's your receipts for that? Here you go. Let me present a little evidence. Dale Kingsmill, brilliant tabletop role-playing game commentator, definitely has commentated on Dungeons & Dragons. She commentates on other TTRPGs. And she was on a podcast when she was like, I had a group of people, I was bringing them over. It was a group of 5 players. And I was like, do you guys want to play Dungeons & Dragons? And they were like, yes, we would like to. And they were like, I don't know. Sounds weird. And then she's like, listen, you're going to have a great time. Trust me. Don't trust the game. Come on over, right? And so these people who had not tried Dungeons & Dragons before came, right? And when they got there, she's like, hey, and they're like, hey, I thought we were going to play Dungeons & Dragons. This says Pathfinder on the cover. And she said, this is Dungeons & Dragons, sort of, right? Like, the reality is this is a little different than Dungeons & Dragons, but for all intents and purposes, this is Dungeons & Dragons. She literally lied to the people. And she said, the reason I lied to them is I knew they would know what Dungeons & Dragons was. And if I said Pathfinder, I know they would not know what I was talking about. And I would have to have even more conversation than I did, right? So those people think that Golarion, I think multiple people walked away from that table thinking that Golarion is Forgotten Realms, Golarion is Greyhawk, Golarion is Strixhaven. They don't know any better. And it actually confuses Dungeons & Dragons canon. It is anti-canon. It is worse than, actually, non-canon material to Dungeons & Dragons is fairly neutral to it, right? Golarion is not neutral to Dungeons & Dragons, right? Because of people like Dale Kingsmill, it literally confuses Dungeons & Dragons canon and makes it hard for Dungeons & Dragons canon to accomplish the goals of Dungeons & Dragons canon. What are the goals of Dungeons & Dragons canon? Right now, they're trying to make it, Forgotten Realms an everyday term, right? They're trying to make sure that people know Dungeons & Dragons celebrity. There's only one Dungeons & Dragons celebrity in the whole world right now, and that is Dritz Do'Urden, right? Like, even people beyond Dungeons & Dragons know who the heck Dritz Do'Urden is, right? Whereas, like, Alustriel Silverhand, everybody should know her name, but people don't, right? Like, so it's a thing, right? Like, so this is the issue, right? And this is where we have to kind of get to the other side of. So Golarion is actually anti-canon. It is level A canon, okay? So that is the full sweep. So I've defined every single level of Dungeons & Dragons canon at this point, in my humble opinion. Every single word you just heard is my humble opinion. Nothing more, nothing less. The important part is when I get to your humble opinion. When you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a fetch millennium.